We have been programmed to flee from boredom. When waiting in line, you check Instagram. When eating dinner, you watch YouTube. When driving, you listen to music. When taking a dump, you look at butt cheeks. Because in this modern day, it is quite possible to literally never be bored. But what if this seemingly innocent cognitive adaptation is actually spelling doom for our potential? And this isn't your typical, oh, distraction is bad video that literally every productivity YouTuber makes. Rather, I'm gonna be breaking down how boredom is nothing that we've been led to believe it is, and when leveraged properly, it is the key to getting ahead of practically everyone. Because boredom is not a hindrance, it is an opportunity. It is not the problem, it is the solution. So growing up, I was always a gamer. I played video games at my babysitter's, but as soon as I had access to Wi-Fi at home, it was game over. By the time I entered my teenage years, I'm constantly playing video games while watching a YouTube video, and every couple hours or so, going to a naughty website. But one day I watched a video that explained some of the mental health benefits of meditating, and I thought, that's super wooey, but you know what? This guy was persuasive. I'm gonna give it a try. So for 10 minutes, I sat and focused on my breathing, and if any thoughts distracted me, I just went back to the breath. And when I emerged from that session, I was shocked. Everything felt different. Everything felt fresh. All of a sudden, I could focus. I was present in the moment. All these voices that have been tormenting me in my head for years were a little quieter. But I didn't really care that much, so it was just something I would do here and there before going to the gym because it helped me focus and get gains. I graduated high school, moved out on my own, got a job, and even then, I couldn't walk the dog, do the laundry, clean the dishes, without having a podcast or a YouTube video blaring in my ears. But by that time, I was listening to podcasts and stuff, so that's productive, right? Well, clearly not, because my life remained exactly the same, my mental health was still in turmoil, and I was making no progress towards the success that I desired. But I was still doing those little meditations here and there, just because it lowered my social anxiety when I went out with friends, or it helped me clear my mind when I was ultra fried from all the TikTok and YouTube. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was building my skill of metacognition, the ability to be aware of awareness, to think about thoughts, to observe observations. And one day I was just so sick of where I was at in life. My mind felt so clustered. I felt like I was making no progress. I was letting myself down. I was letting those around me down. And I laid on the floor, stared at the ceiling, and did nothing. At first, my brain was throwing all these crazy thoughts at me, all these urges to get up, look at Instagram, look at butt cheeks. But eventually, I began to notice myself thinking thoughts and feeling feelings that I've never really noticed before. And not only that, these insights and perspectives on myself and my life that I've never realized before was all of a sudden just surfacing into my consciousness. And since I had this low-level skill of metacognition, I was actually able to notice and observe it. Free 5-day guided meditation series in the description, by the way, if you want to do that. And I just kept laying there and observing these things and having all these thoughts. And by the time I stood up and checked my phone, over an hour has passed of just lying and doing nothing. But unfortunately, I didn't really understand the implications of it. Sure, I got some insights, I felt a little better, but I just went about my daily habits. And it wasn't until 1 to 2 years later where I began reading all these books, learning how the mind works, that I realized that in that moment, I was unlocking a superpower through boredom. But first, we have to understand what actually is boredom. Go ahead, Google boredom definition, and all it's gonna say is the state of feeling bored. Even Google doesn't know what to tell you, and why is that? That's because boredom isn't actually an emotion. It is just this blanket term we throw over an amalgamation of different discomforts and emotions and thoughts and urges and feelings that pop up. Instead of knowing what the actual source is, we just say, oh, I feel bored, TikTok. And just realizing that boredom isn't real removes a lot of its power, because you learn that it's not this scary cloud looming over if you sit quietly for 5 minutes. But these signals that we labeled as boredom most likely did serve a purpose for our ancestors, because it forced them to keep being productive. If not, they would feel discomfort, so they'd be productive. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive or thrive. But now these same mechanisms have been hijacked by modern technology. It's similar to how back in the day when you felt hungry, it pushed our ancestors to eat, but now junk food hijacks us to feel hungry all the time and crave unhealthy things. And this cognitive hijacking has created all these unconscious habits we have, such as reaching for your phone when you're sitting in silence, or scrolling down into the comments when you're watching a YouTube video. But not only that, because these habits block your brain from entering certain states associated with creativity, problem solving, having these profound realizations and breakthroughs that actually propel you forward in life. Whereas when I learned how to leverage boredom, my entire life instantly changed. My experiences in life shifted from negative to positive. I began to have creative ideas in my content and my business, and now I get to make money from home. It's awesome. And in a world where even these productive people are constantly stimulated and terrified of boredom, it has allowed me to put the systems in place to get ahead of 96 to 98% of people. Blaise Pascal said it best when he said, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. But enough yapping. Here is how to turn boredom from your enemy to your savior. So right off the bat, you're probably already thinking, oh, well, I need to have some times in my day to be bored. And you're right. For me, I started going on walks without headphones. I started doing chores without YouTube. I was meditating, so I was building the skill of just blocking and karate chopping all these little urges and feelings that we think is boredom. But the second step to get rid of the majority of those urges and all these things we think is boredom is to just lower the amount of cheap dopamine you're intaking. When I was younger, I would always feel super bored when sitting at church or sitting during a family event, because I trained my brain to expect the stimulation from opening my little laptop and playing COD 4 or Minecraft Hunger Games. Cheap dopamine is going to make you feel bored when doing less stimulating things. Therefore, you need to remove the overstimulating alternatives from your life, and that'll train your brain to not try to nudge you in that direction. And once you do these things right off the bat, you're just gonna learn to live better because you have an increased sense of presence. The overall potency of each life experience is going to feel better. The casual conversations, going on walks, doing the work that you used to think is boring is going to feel like some of the best things on earth. You see, when you build that skill of metacognition and get rid of the urges and enter a time of boredom, your brain is going to enter this alpha wave state, and this is where all of these creative outputs surface. Therefore, all of a sudden, your subconscious is going to say, hey, you know that problem you've been dealing with for the past few weeks? Here's the solution. Hey, you know how you want to make more money and start a business? Here's the idea to do that. And this is exactly why all of the greatest thinkers and philosophers of the past literally scheduled boring times every day. Not only that, but early on, when you're embracing boredom and pushing yourself through the discomfort, it is going to build the AMCC, which is a part of your brain that is associated with discipline and willpower. Which means it's going to train your brain to push through discomfort. It's going to build your willpower, and that's going to translate to literally everything else in your life. And you couple this with the increased productivity you're going to have by realizing that boredom isn't this brick wall that you can't get through, and it's something you can just sit in and wait out, which is going to increase your focus in doing the work, meaning boredom is going to be the key to not only getting these next level ideas and insights and solutions to problems, but the discipline required to take action on them. But the final piece of this puzzle, the final infinity stone, is the ability to increase your levels of focus, to get to the elite levels that when you do sit down to do the work, you can do 8 hours of work in like 1 to 2 hours. So if you click the video on the screen right now, I teach you the 10 habits that increased my productivity by 600%.